I get it. Navigating the world of charging for sponsored content can be really confusing. I'm here to clear up some of that mystery in this video, where I'll be showing you how much to charge for sponsored blog posts and for sponsored Instagram posts, what factors may adjust your rate to be higher or lower, and finally, a few things you should further raise your rate for. Let's set your base rates for sponsored Instagram content and for sponsored blog posts. First, sponsored Instagram posts. The general rule for a single sponsored image post is $100 per 10,000 followers. So if you have 5,000 followers, you could charge $50 for a sponsored post. If you have 50,000 followers, you could charge $500 for one sponsored post. Second, a sponsored post on stories. The general rule is to charge 20 to 30% of your rate for a sponsored Instagram post. So if you have 40,000 followers and your rate for a sponsored Instagram post is $400, your rate for a single stories would be $80 to $120. Third, an Instagram reel. I recommend using the framework of $10 per every 1,000 views, also known as your CPM. Since there's really no telling if a reel would go viral, I recommend taking the average number of views your reels get and setting that as a base rate. For instance, if you're getting on average 30,000 views on your reels, you can start with a base of $300 per reel. Now let's move on to setting your rate for a sponsored blog post. Keep in mind that the formula I'm about to outline is a general one, and depending on you and your business, you can adjust accordingly. For blog posts, the first thing you need to do is figure out what your hourly rate is. If you don't know what your hourly rate is, I recommend using the formula and this blog post. See the link in the description below. Then estimate how long this blog post will take you to complete. Make sure you're taking into consideration time spent planning the post, writing the first draft, editing to get the final version, adding in relevant links, and of course, time spent creating any photos that need to actually go into the blog post. Multiply your hourly rate times the number of estimated hours and save that number. That's your time spent number. Then figure out what your average monthly views on your blog are. To do this, look at your overall traffic from the last 6 months on Google Analytics, since traffic always fluctuates month to month. Add all of those numbers together and divide it by 6 to get your average monthly page views. Once you know that number, divide it by 1,000 to find out your reach per 1,000 impressions, or CPM. Round your CPM up and multiply that by the rate you set per 1,000 impressions. This could be anywhere from $3 or more depending on what you're comfortable with. For example, let's say you get around 100,000 monthly average page views. Divide that number by 1,000 and you find out your CPM is 100. If your rate per 1,000 impressions is $3, you'll be charging $300 for a single blog post. Then add that number to your time spent number and you have your rate for a sponsored blog post. The basic formulas that I outlined are a great place to start in calculating what your rates for sponsored content are. But there are still some adjustments to be made based on 5 factors. First is the size of the company. If it's a large corporation, you can bump your rates up a bit. If it's a small company, you may have to lower them a little bit, or at least have the expectation that they might ask if you can. Second is your engagement rate. If you have an amazing engagement rate on Instagram, or if the level of engagement on your blog is higher than other blogs at your size, you can definitely increase your rates based on that. The more engaged your audience is, typically the more likely you're going to be able to get the brand great results. Third, whether or not the brand wants exclusivity. Exclusivity means that during the collaboration term or for a certain time period after the collaboration is over, you will not work with any of the brand's competitors. As an example, if you worked with a hair care brand, they may ask you not to work with other hair care brands that they consider their competitors. You can charge more for this exclusivity because there is a potential that you might miss out on income from one of those other brands during that exclusivity period. Number 4, whitelisting. If a brand wants to run ads about their product directly from your page, you should definitely charge a monthly fee on top of the fee you've negotiated for the actual collaboration. I recommend that monthly rate being between 30 to 50% of what the total fee is, depending on the size of the company. And lastly, time spent creating content. The amount of time it will take to take a selfie photo for a sponsored collaboration is vastly different from the time spent creating a reel with transitions and more advanced editing. So you should always charge more for a collaboration when you know that the time investment will be higher. I hope that this video cleared up a lot of the question marks you might have when it comes to calculating your rates for sponsored content, and that you're ready to get out there and make some income from brand collaborations. Before you go, make sure to hit subscribe on this YouTube channel for more videos that will help you monetize as a web creator. See you again soon.